We have all met them. There are people whose presence feels like a warm sun, and for a moment, you believe you have found a place of shelter. But look closer. Sometimes the brightest light is not born of an inner fire, but is a reflection borrowed from those it shines upon. In their presence, there is a subtle disturbance, a quiet pulling away of your own energy, and if you are not mindful, you can lose the map to your own heart. They do not merely feel they are the center. They live in a reality built upon this idea. The spirit walking this path moves through the world as if they are a mountain, and all others are but weather passing by. Above judgment, beyond the rules that govern the streams and rivers. But this mountain is not made of ancient stone. It is hollow. It is a beautiful, immense fortress built not to protect what is inside, but to hide the vast emptiness there. A fortress raised around the ghost of a fragile spirit, one that was once told it was not enough, that it was wind, that it was dust. And rather than heal this fracture, a new self was constructed, impenetrable, magnificent, separate. They must be the peak, because the valley is a wound they can no longer face. This feeling of being a mountain is not a strength. It is an imbalance. It is a danger, because it alters the very landscape of truth. When such a soul enters a space, they do not see other mountains. They see rivers to draw from, trees for shade, or stones in their path. You are valuable as long as your river flows toward them. You are seen only through the lens of their need to stand taller, to be the highest peak in the range. You are never seen for the unique geography of your own soul. And if your inner light, your quiet confidence, shines brightly on its own, it is perceived not as a gift, but as a challenge to their singular sun, a shadow that threatens their reality. And shadows, in their world, must be dispelled. Here, the path darkens, because when the illusion of the mountain is questioned, they do not turn inward to the earth for grounding. They send out a storm, sometimes with the sharp wind of subtle words, other times with the lightning of open humiliation. They must prevail, not from a place of malice, but because to be seen as a mere hill would mean the collapse of their entire world. This is not the energy of true power. It is the energy of fear, a deep, quiet terror that if the world stops offering its rivers, its forests, its admiration, they will simply dissolve into the emptiness they guard. So when you meet this energy, you are not with one who is truly rooted in their being. You are with one whose very existence is a story they must force the world to believe. This makes them unpredictable, like a sudden storm, and a dialogue is impossible. Facts are but rain. Reality is but wind. Only the preservation of the fortress matters. They will reshape the landscape of the past, deny the existence of a river they just drank from, because the survival of the empty self depends upon it. This is not self-love. It is not a deep inner spring. It is an obsession with the reflection in the water, born from a deep thirst, and it leaves the ground barren around it, in families, in friendships, in connections of the heart. For no flower can grow in the shadow of a mountain that claims all sunlight for itself. A soul like this does not connect. It echoes. When you first encounter them, you feel a profound resonance. They echo your dreams, your quiet pains, your core truths. They complete your thoughts. It feels like destiny, a river meeting its stream. But you are not experiencing a joining of waters. You are standing in an empty canyon, hearing the sound of your own voice return to you. Their way of bonding is not to show you the landscape of their soul. They study yours and wear it like a mist. To gain your trust, you must first feel seen. And the most powerful way to do this is to become a mirror. This mirroring is not simple praise. It is a spiritual strategy disguised as kinship. They observe you, not from a place of love, but from a place of knowing. What makes your heart beat faster? Where are the old wounds in your soil? What are your deepest fears? They gather this knowledge like a farmer gathers seeds. At first, they use it to help you grow. You feel understood, nourished, celebrated. But once they know your land, once the gates to your garden are open, the season changes. The very things they nourished, they now begin to prune. The shared vulnerabilities become paths for them to walk, uninvited. Their empathy is not true empathy. It is a performance. They do not feel your rain. They see you are wet and describe the feeling of water, but they remain dry. It is a transaction. They offer just enough water to keep your garden dependent on them, while they quietly take ownership of the harvest. If you ever challenge this, or grow in a way they did not plan, the mask of the fellow gardener falls. And what was once kinship becomes a cold accounting, or even disdain. The danger here is not that you misunderstand them. It is that you begin to misunderstand yourself. You question your own inner seasons. You doubt your intuition. How could a soul who knew your garden so well suddenly seem to desire its ruin? That confusion creates a war within, and in this chaos they find their peace. The more lost you are, the more they can be your guide. This is not connection. It is possession. You are not loved for your landscape. You are used for the resources you provide: light, water, admiration. You become the canvas for their imagined garden. And the moment you choose to paint your own picture, they will either abandon the canvas or burn it, often both. A true bond requires that both gardens are open, that the weather is shared, that the earth is honest. But a soul living in an empty fortress is incapable of this. To be open is to risk their walls being seen. To share the weather is to admit they do not control the sun and the rain. To be honest is to risk revealing the emptiness within. So, they echo, they manage. And when the performance is over, you are left in a barren field, wondering if any of the flowers were ever real. The difficult truth is, they were not. Control is the hidden master of the empty self, but it is rarely accomplished with force. They are more like a silent wind that guides the clouds, strategic and patient. They create confusion not as a byproduct, but as a primary tool. For in confusion, they thrive. In your doubt, they find their certainty. The more you question the weather, the more power they have to tell you it is raining when the sun is shining. This is where they begin to stir the waters of your mind, not with one sudden act, but by adding a single pebble of doubt, day after day. This soul does not simply lie. They bend reality itself. They will deny the words they just spoke. They will redraw the map of your shared journey. The contradictions are so clear, so profound, that your first instinct is to believe that you are the one who has lost their way. That is the goal, because if they can make you doubt your own compass, your own eyes, your own inner sky, then they can become your navigator. And when they succeed, they do not just command the journey, they command you. It begins subtly. A tone of voice that dismisses your truth. A sharp, edged comment presented as a simple jest. A quiet withholding that leaves you questioning your own worth. Slowly, this pattern grows. You start to edit your own truth before you speak. You rehearse journeys in your mind, trying to find a path that will not lead to a storm in them. Your inner world shrinks. You become a master of their climate and a stranger to your own. They do not seek harmony. Harmony requires balance. It requires two peaks of equal height, and their fortress can only stand if it is the highest. So they create tremors and then accuse you of being unsteady. They withhold warmth and then seem baffled by your chill. They plant seeds of discord between you and others who might offer you a different map, slowly isolating you until their version of the world is the only one you can see. And if you ever find the strength to walk away, they often react not with stillness, but with a whirlwind, pouring rain on you one moment, brilliant sun the next. This is not the random chaos of nature. It is a calculated storm designed to keep you off balance, to keep you returning to them for shelter, to keep you chasing the memory of the first sunny day you spent together. But that sun was never theirs to give. It was always a reflection of your own. In this climate of managed chaos, your inner compass, your intuition, slowly ceases to point north. You stop trusting your gut feelings. You stop speaking your own weather report. You become smaller, a gentler breeze, easier for them to direct. And the one who walks as a mountain, now firmly in command, stands in the quiet eye of the storm they created, offering you shelter from a turmoil they themselves designed. This is the deep sadness of this path. It does not break you with a single blow, It convinces you to break yourself, piece by piece, truth by truth, until you forget the landscape you were born with. These souls do not seek love. They seek what, in my tradition, we call borrowed light. It is a constant stream of attention, of agreement, of praise that nourishes their constructed self like a river nourishes a thirsty field. They may use the language of the heart. They may perform the gestures of affection, but these are all transactions. They are not offerings of water. They are the digging of a well, an investment to ensure a return your devotion, your admiration, your stillness in their presence. In the beginning, this can feel like finding an oasis. They know how to offer water when it serves their aim. They will make you feel like the center of the world, not because they truly see you, but because your reverence for them validates their fragile image of greatness. As long as you play your part, as long as your gaze is fixed on them, steady and unquestioning, they reward you. They may even place you high on a hill, shining a light on you for all to see. But this cannot last. The moment you express your own thirst, draw your own boundaries, or cease to praise their light, the illusion begins to fade. What comes next is a deep cold that can be shocking. They become distant, sharp, even cruel. And when you ask what has changed, they act as if your very emotions are a burden, as if your need for water is an inconvenience to their river. This is the paradox of the empty fortress. It demands unwavering admiration, yet offers none back. It feeds on praise, yet starves you of the same. Your offerings become an expectation. Their silence becomes a weapon, and your pain becomes a tool they can use. This dynamic creates a drought, where you are always giving water, and they are always taking it. You begin to work harder to earn the water they once gave freely. You forget your own thirst. You silence your own truths. You make yourself smaller, less complicated, more agreeable, all in the hope of feeling that initial warmth again. But it never returns in the same way. Because once they feel they have secured your stream, they no longer need to pretend the exchange is mutual. They have already tapped your spring. This deprivation is intentional. By withholding nourishment, they deepen your dependence. They want you thirsty for their attention. They want you chasing the memory of their reign. In that way, they remain the master of the weather. It is a cycle of sun and drought, a managed season that creates a deep craving. You never know when the next drop of rain will fall, and so you hold on, hoping it will, but it rarely does. Because for them, your value is not in who you are. It is in what you provide to their empty fortress. Once that resource is depleted, so is their warmth, and what remains is a cold stillness that leaves you wondering if your garden was ever truly valued or simply used. There is one thing the soul in the empty fortress fears more than being left, more than failing, and that is being truly seen. Beneath the high walls of their fortress lies a deep, trembling emptiness they must keep hidden from the light. Every story they tell, every illusion they create, every mask they wear serves one purpose: to protect the false self from being seen for what it is, fragile, hollow, and born of shame. To maintain this illusion of fullness, they are always performing. In the open world, they present a polished face, calm, wise, even humble if it helps the story. They work to cultivate admiration and respect. But behind the closed doors of the heart, the story changes. When no one is watching, or more precisely, when no one who matters to their image is watching, their energy becomes chaotic, cold, and controlling. They turn on those closest to them, not because those people are without value, but because they are witnesses. And a witness is a threat. Anyone who sees the cracks in the fortress wall, who begins to connect the serene mask with the inner storm, becomes dangerous. At first, they may try to win you back with more illusions, words of regret, laced with self-pity, promises of a new season, moments of seeming warmth. But if that fails, the path changes. They go on the offensive. They tell new stories. They paint a new picture where they are the victim, and you are the storm. You are the unstable one. You are the one who is ungrateful. It is a battle for reality, and they are masters of this inner landscape. This fear of being seen drives them to preemptively cast shadows on anyone who might bring a lantern. Former partners, friends, even family who step out of line are labeled as unwell or imbalanced. They will quietly sow seeds of doubt about you in the minds of others, all while maintaining their own posture of calm reason. Their power depends on this duality. They must be admired in the light, while they control the story in the dark. And the more you see, the more you threaten this balance. They cannot bear true intimacy, because intimacy requires being seen. Vulnerability, the soil of all true connection, is terrifying to them. It requires honesty, and honesty could collapse the fragile walls they have spent a lifetime building. So instead of opening up, they deflect. Instead of admitting fault, they blame. Instead of accepting feedback, they rage or retreat into silence. Every reaction is a defense mechanism designed to keep the emptiness hidden. The tragedy is that this soul is not just hiding from the world, they are hiding from themselves. But in doing so, they destroy the very connections that might bring them to an inner spring of their own. Anyone who sees their true, empty self becomes a liability, not a friend. And so, the mask must be protected, no matter the cost. Because to be seen does not just threaten their story, it threatens the entire fortress they have built to survive. The most frightening part of this dark path is not the storm itself, it is the silence that allows it to gather. These patterns do not exist in isolation. They persist because they are hidden, they are excused, they are ignored. People often do not speak up because they cannot. They are too lost in the fog, too ashamed, or too hurt to find their voice. And that silence becomes the fertile ground where shadows grow. As long as no one names the storm, it thrives. It becomes normal, even accepted, and the soul inside the fortress is left free to continue the cycle with a new person, a new connection, a new stage. This silence is not an accident. It is enforced by the architect of the fortress. They create a climate where speaking the truth feels dangerous. You fear you will not be believed. You fear being seen as the storm. You fear losing the community, the family, or the life that stands in the shadow of the fortress they have built. They persuade others to stay quiet, to doubt their instincts, to question what they have felt with their own hearts. And when that happens, they do not just win control, they erase your truth. And once your truth has been rewritten, you become easier to manage, easier to leave behind, easier to forget. But the drought does not stop with one person. The silence spreads. Children raised in these shadows learn to quiet their own weather to keep the peace. Partners learn to endure the cold, mistaking it for a form of love. Friends, colleagues, and communities look away because to see the truth is too uncomfortable, too disruptive to the illusion of calm. And so the storm continues, not because no one sees it, but because no one speaks its name. To break that silence is the first act of reclaiming your own ground. It is also the first step toward finding your own water. To name what you have experienced, the shifting realities, the management of your heart, the withholding of warmth, the cruelty, gives form to what felt like an invisible fog. It reclaims energy from the one who took it. And it sends a message: I see you. I will not be quiet. I will no longer carry your secrets. Shadows do not exist because they are powerful. They exist because we let them hide. And the most dangerous are not the ones that rage, but the ones that smile, that charm, that create illusions, that mask their inner coldness with charisma. They depend on our silence to keep their fortress intact. They fear being seen, because the light is their undoing. If you have seen these patterns in another, or more difficult, in yourself, the time to speak is now, not with the energy of revenge, but with the energy of truth. Because truth disrupts the illusion. It cracks the facade. It forces what was hidden into the light. And in that light, the power of the empty fortress begins to dissolve. Silence allows the shadows to walk freely. To speak your truth is not just survival. It is a returning. It is clarity. And above all, it is freedom.